Pastor Robert Wells, welcome to Rwanda.
Thank you.
Pastor Ed, welcome to Rwanda.
Thank you.
So viewers, we are very happy to host, as I always say, these are seasonal leaders that would like to hear from them. Thank you, Vito.
Yes, we are going to be talking about leadership. We're going to be talking about building leaders. And this is very important for you because whether you know it or not, you are actually a leader. God created you to be a leader. And you understand why you need to be built. We are with two leaders who have been doing this for a very long time, who's been leaders of ministries for a long time, but also have been training other leaders. So we'll be joined by both the guests and Dr. Norman. I hope that Dr. Norman will be able to share some of the context for our culture and our nation, while others share the global principles of leadership, because leadership is really global and the principles cut across. But maybe sometimes when we need to apply it in our context, we may be able to receive some context from Dr. Norman. So allow me to start by asking our guests to introduce themselves and tell us about you. Pastor Robert.
Well, my name is Robert Wells. I've been married for 60 years.
Wow.
I have 2 children, 3 grandchildren, and 6 great-grandchildren. Wow. I've been in the full-time ministry for 50-plus years. I pastored for 39 years, and then I've traveled for the rest of those years in ministry. And this is my 7th trip to Rwanda.
Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Thank you. We are also with Pastor Ed. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Ed Huie from the great state of Arkansas. Been married 49 years, obviously a little younger than my companion here. Have a beautiful, precious wife, 2 wonderful sons, 6 great, well, they're not great-grandchildren, but they're pretty great-grandchildren. They're the love of our lives. And so I've been in ministry since Bible school, predominantly, pastored, served on staff. I've traveled in itinerant ministry, and for the past 20 years I've been traveling to different nations, ministering to leaders. So,
is it your first time here?
My first time in Rwanda, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I'd love to hear how you decided to come to this nation too.
How did I come?
How did you decide to come to Rwanda too?
I got an invitation from my good friend
Okay.
to join him on this trip. Delighted to be able to make that happen. It's an honor to be here. I'm looking forward to all of it.
So how long have you been here?
We got here Friday night, I think it was.
Friday
Just a
night,
few
okay.
days.
So for a few things you have seen so far, how does it feel to be in this country? Your first impressions?
Beautiful country, beautiful land, beautiful people. We went to the Genocide Museum yesterday. Just heartbreaking what has happened to this nation and the people, and I know God has not forgotten them, and that he will respond, is responding, and he's using forums, I think, like this to do that very thing.
Yeah. One of the questions I plan to ask you, even though I haven't asked, is about why leadership. And now that you just mentioned genocide, I'm already answering myself, but before I go to that, let me come back to Pastor Robert. 7th time to come to Rwanda, and you travel in many other nations. One might be curious to know why 7 times? You could have visited once and said, I'm never coming back to this place. What did you find in this place that is interesting or makes you keep coming?
One of the reasons that I think I keep coming back is because I find that the congregation, the people that we minister to, I find that they're so receptive. They're taking notes all the time. And not every nation I go to, they do that, but they're just continually, they've got pages and pages and pages of notes, so they're hungry for something. They're hungry for the Word. And I find that Rwanda, the people are very respectful. And I just love and appreciate that. the kindred spirit that you feel. And so it just makes you want to come back. So again, I've been here 7 times, and we'll be here next year, Lord willing. It'll be 8th time, and then 9th time. And,
Always welcome.
For the next 10, 15 years, until I'm 100 years old, I guess, that I'd be in Rwanda, because it's just I love the people. I just Dr. Norman, I met him 15 years ago, I guess, 16, 17 years ago. And he invited me to come, and we never did communicate. And then about 7 years ago, 8 years ago, he communicated with me and asked me if I would come, and just felt the Lord deal with me to come. And I came by myself that year. And but I enjoyed it so much, and I thought it was such a great platform to minister to ministers, that every year I've always had somebody to come with me and let them feel what I've been feeling.
Wow. Oh, that's so powerful to hear. Before I get excited about Rwanda and how we enjoy, if you've been here, you've seen, I don't know if it's just about Rwanda, but I think it's Africans in general. There's a way that welcoming guests, having guests is very exciting. I don't even know if it is just Africans, but I think it's a worldwide practice, but especially more for traditional societies than the modern ones, I guess. Having guests is always exciting. Yeah, so I've watched a few videos of yours, I think of last year or probably 2 years ago. As I was saying, Dr. Norman gave us some videos to edit, and you were teaching about excellence. Yeah. Now you'll be teaching about leadership. One would ask themselves why, for so many things that you could teach about, that you could talk about from Bible, the Bible is, touches every side of life. There are so many things to cover. Why leadership? Well,
leadership's important. It's important in the church. If you a leader, so many times people gets the definition of a leader wrong. We understand, a leader is somebody that leads. But the main reason I believe that you should be a leader is you should lead others. I think it's scriptural. I think it's biblical. The Apostle Paul told Timothy, in 2 Timothy, he said, I've invested my life in you. So Paul was a leader to Timothy. I've invested my life in you. Now I want you to go out there, invest your life in someone else. So the subject of leadership is very important, because it's even this week we're investing. We've invested our time. We've invested our resources. We're investing into other leaders. That the other leaders will go out and invest to other leaders. And it just keeps on building leaders upon leaders upon leaders. And so in this day and hour, I think it's very important that we understand what leadership is about. I'm going to be teaching this week. I'm going to start off this week, tomorrow, teaching about the things that leadership costs us. It's not free. It costs us sometimes relationships, and because we have to make hard decisions on what we do. And so in a setting like this, we'll have 100 leaders there tomorrow. In a setting like this, we'll be able to just talk heart to heart. I'm no better than they are, and they're no better than I am. So I'll just talk heart to heart and just get down to brass tacks, Hey, leadership is tough. If you want that title of being a leader, you're going to have to go through some stuff to be a leader. But our main object this week is that we can invest in 100 leaders, and they can invest into 100 leaders.
Wow. Dr. Norman, you kind of have, right from the beginning, chosen to focus on leadership. The other day you were telling me about LITE, and the first one being a leadership thing, but also you've been organizing leadership conferences for church leaders, for youth leaders, even for children teachers. You know, and one might ask, did you kind of think that leadership was the most important thing that you need to focus on post-genocide? Is it because as you were telling us from the other conversation on the documentary, there was so much brokenness that an organization like yours would have chosen to focus on restoring the hope, the social culture, and everything. I'm not saying that leadership is distinct from that, but I'm saying why leadership specifically?
Why leadership? When we moved into Rwanda in 1995, I realized that all systems were broken because of leadership. Both political, social, and economic. All structures were destroyed or affected by leadership. And I saw myself as asking myself, as a young leader, by that time I wasn't married, but I was seeing myself as a piece of a person that God could use in restoring the value of becoming a true leader. A leader in a sense of restoring hope, a leader of bringing broken relationship when it comes to the ministers of the gospel, because after genocide, again, the two churches were, the leaders were affected. Not everyone was united. So I felt the Lord was saying, you can be part of what I'm doing. So I had the opportunity of one of the few leaders during that time where I could organize like meetings for the leaders, because I knew the brokenness. I understand the position of a leader in the area of brokenness, as Pastor Robert was saying, of sacrifice. So I realized, no, I can edify these leaders. We can team up together, build one another, and build the people of God. So that was the kind of motivation. And I thank God because throughout all these years, I've had the opportunity, like Pastor Robert said, whenever I get opportunity to get I call them seasoned leaders, leaders that have something to offer, I say, come, equip my people. So that is the main motivation for that. Yeah.
Well, what do you think is the biggest challenge with leadership worldwide, and maybe particularly in Rwanda? What do you think is the biggest thing that we're missing?
One of the missing link in leadership in Rwanda is that throughout the years, I realized that a leader, a point where they feel alone, they need encouragement. Another missing link is to know how. What are the principles of leadership? Many of us, after 95, everyone moved into leadership, but many of us, or many, had never had any like mentorship and learning about biblical leadership, and so everyone was into that. And that, I think, affected the effectiveness of leaders. So there's this kind of gap of not only understanding the Bible, but what does the Bible speak about you as a leader? So that gap of understanding what true biblical leadership is and how I can lead, how can I deal with people and all that. So those are the missing points. Like most in African church today, we preach a lot, we do all the kind of thing, but we don't have the basics of understand how I can lead, how I can relate with people, the points of accountability, teamwork, and all that. So those are some of the missing points that we see in the African church, but also in Rwanda. But we thank God because we are beginning to understand people are beginning to understand the benefits, the impact. Once a leader is trained and empowered, then they can empower other people that they lead.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Pastor Ed, I was just checking on what you do on internet, just generally, and that's where it's where I got there. Earlier I mentioned your two famous teachings, because as soon as I started researching about your name, the two famous teachings.
There's
popped
only
up.
two?
No, there are so many, but the two are said to be famous, actually.
Okay.
The two are said to be famous. The benefits of a believer, 7 benefits,
Okay.
and the big 5.
Yes.
So they are the ones that they told me they are very, very famous. But I also got to see that you're leading Echo Ministries
Mm-hmm.
and Harvest Time Church or something.
That's where I attend church.
And I wanted to ask this.
Mhm.
You travel around the world. You have been a leader. You just mentioned that you've been leading your family for 49 years, so you have so much experience and leadership lessons you've learned from your personal experience, but also from what you have observed around the world as you travel around. Why is it important to talk about leadership? Why is it important to teach about leadership? Why is it important to build leaders? Because some people will say, and this is a classical famous saying, it's a classical, they say, is it taught, is it born, is it learned?
Yeah.
And others will say leadership is caught, not taught. But why do we need to build leaders?
Well, in the absence of leaders, you have chaos. That's what's happened to this country and a number of other countries around the world. And I don't just mean people positioned with titles in an office somewhere, politically, ministerially, or whatever. If you don't have the right person, the called, the anointed, the ordained of God person, you're going to find chaos. And one thing that I want to just kind of back up a little bit but tie into this, I noticed as we were traveling in the city yesterday that the immaculate care of the trees, all of them lined up in the median, and the streets are incredibly clean for such a large city. The bushes are trimmed, the flowers are beautiful, it's all well cared for, which tells me somebody's bringing order to what used to be chaotic. So I see a visual, a prophetic picture actually, that somebody, I don't know who's responsible, but somebody is bringing order to the city. And I pray that your political leaders as well are, because they play a role in this, of course, the good of a nation. And I was talking to Pastor Robert earlier, a young man asked me, I preached for a friend of mine, he was not able to be there, so his associate took me to lunch. And he asked me the question, what is the greatest leadership challenge? And without even thinking, I didn't even study it, and I hadn't even concluded that until then, I said, arrogance. Because now we are titled, we have a position, we have notoriety, and we're just not good at being humble when God has gifted us with the grace of ministering and reaching to people. So I also pondered this word leadership, and this is a part of our conversation as well. If you look, you'll find 5 or 6 times in the Bible the word leader, only 5 or 6 times. In the New Testament, there's only one reference, and it's when Jesus said, the blind leaders of the blind both will fall into the ditch. That's not a complimentary word for the word leader. So what does that mean for us? Well, we need to research how many times the word servant or a derivative is in the Bible. It's about 900 times. So if we will learn how to be servants, the leadership will take over. And yes, we talk leadership, we use that verbiage. I understand, I get that, because that's what people connect to. But truly, aren't we all servants? Aren't we all just serving our King based on the gift He put on us? He called us, He made us to be a good steward. He wants us to be a good steward of the calling that He placed on our lives. So if I'll do my part, and each of us successively does our part, and we serve Jesus, and we serve Jesus as people, then things are going to happen in a significant way. But I think we have to trim our egos down, because we really like titles, we like status, We like visual, look at me, look what I've accomplished, but man, it's all by the grace of God. Isn't that what you said the other day? By the grace of God, we are who we are. Paul said, I am only what I am by the grace of God. And if anybody had rights to brag, it would be the Apostle Paul. So I think leadership is overrated in that sense, but servanthood is underrated when we understand that's the foundation of being a good leader. So.
Wow. There's always a struggle between the two interpretation of the Bible. I mean, it's much easier for people to talk about being a servant and being a leader publicly when pastors are preaching and all that. And somehow when these pastors, if you've been to Africa many times, one of the greatest, critique of leadership is about how as pastors we go preach to people. We tell them we are your servants and all that, but before they know it, we are asking them to carry our shoes, carry our handkerchiefs and everything and all that. And then the struggle becomes, is servant leadership really possible and practical, or was it just something that Jesus did and no one else has ever been able to do?
So rephrase your question to me, please.
The question is it possible to be a servant when you are a leader? Or is it a concept that just brought forth, just like he said, a camel going through the eye of the needle or something like that? Is it something that is practically possible? That's one of the questions that so many people ask themselves, because the concept of being a servant when you're a leader is brought forth by Christians, okay? Yeah. They're the ones that teach about leadership in that kind of aspect. And yet, they are the ones who will lead us and talk about that publicly, but then before we know it, they're asking us to do. So we get a point when we ask ourselves, is this concept of being a servant of a leader possible? Is it something that Jesus brought forth, and maybe he himself was able to do it, but the rest of us can just, live with the reality?
Great question, but can we not? Isn't Jesus our pattern? Isn't he our example? He disrobed himself and he knelt down. He began washing the disciples' feet one by one. He was the main leader. He was the leader, the Son of God. He was the Messiah, but he humbled himself to prove to them that this is what he told them to do. You got to serve each other. He knew the value of humility, and I think we have missed that quite a lot. Yes. Can I segue just a little bit, but on this point, can I tell you a story?
Sure.
It's back in the 2nd century, and a rabbi named Akiva, he had written in the Talmud and some of the other Mishnahs, some of the other Jewish writings, and he was leaving the synagogue and was on his way home near the Sea of Galilee, and he was worshiping, he was meditating, he was just thanking God and kind of lost in himself in the tranquility of his walk. And he came to the fork in the road where he normally would go right. Well, he just inadvertently went left, was still walking along, enjoying the presence of God, and he hears steel being drawn from a scabbard and a deep, gruff voice say, "Who are you and why are you here?" Well, it startled him, of course. And being a good rabbi, he doesn't answer a question with an answer. He answers a question with a question. And he said, "What do they pay you to stand here and ask that question?" He said, 5 drachma every week. He said, "I'll give you 10 drachma every week if you'll stand outside the door of my house and ask me that question every time I come in or go out. Who are you and why are you here?" I think if we'll wrestle with those 2 questions as leaders and as those that we'll be touching and teaching this week and all that we get to touch and minister to, if we'll just grapple with that, who am I? Because if you don't know who you are, then you don't know your identity, because who I am is my identity, and why am I here is my destiny. But if I don't know my identity, then I can't really get to my destiny. And if I get to my destiny, but I don't know who I am, I'm going to foil it. So all of these 2 questions are foundational to learning who we are and what we're about, discovering our call from God. That's critical, so critical.
Wow. Sure. If you want to add something.
Can I add something to that? Alluding to what you said a while ago about like expecting someone to carry our briefcase. It's a sad day when a leader thinks he's arrived. It's a sad day when he thinks he's better than anybody else. I pastored 2 churches. The last church I pastored for 31 years, and we were successful in our community. And I had a staff. But when it was a work day, I was out there sweating just like everybody else. Yeah. I didn't think I was more important. I was better. And so one of the major problems with leadership today that I have seen is leaders think that they have arrived and everybody else is so much lower than they are. It's all right to carry, and I know in a lot of places in Africa, or a lot of places in the world where we travel, they want to hold your Bible and bring your briefcase. They do that here every time I've come here. They've taken my briefcase, and that's because of respect from them. That's the Rwandan respect. But if I would walk into that venue tomorrow and look at some Rwandan and say, here, take my briefcase, that would be a sad leader, because I'm no greater. I'm no greater. And that's I don't know about this, but that in the United States, we have that problem when they get to a certain level, they think that everybody else is so much lower, and I've always believed, you know, I want to be a Mary, but I want to be a Martha.
Wow. Wow. He wants to be a Mary, but also a Martha. Not just being at the feet of Jesus, but also serving. That's just so powerful. Pastor Ed mentioned about the need for leaders to bring order into societies, into families, into communities. And I wanted to know, what do you think is the difference or the relationship? Actually, let me put it as a relationship. What is the relationship between leadership and excellence? Because you've touched both topics.
Well, there should be excellence, not perfection. We're not talking about perfection. We'll never reach perfection. But there should be excellence in leadership. As Pastor Ed was saying about the beautification of the streets and the cleanliness of streets, you have your leadership and the government, whoever is over this, you have your leadership. But that leadership is doing it with excellence. It's not halfway doing it. So both of them, they both need to be married to each other. There must be the leadership, but if you're going to be a leader, put excellence in your leadership. So you can't, I don't think you can do one without the other. I think you definitely need having that excellence in that leadership.
Wow. This is, you know, being a Rwandan and being an African, I don't know about the rest of the world. I haven't traveled that much, but from the history that I learn and from the things I have experienced in my own life, I've seen, and many times when we talk about leadership, generally people understand leadership as tied to political leadership and all that. That's the people that we observe the most, they are written about the most and all that. And I've seen all kinds of leaders. Maybe the famous ones you might know, you've heard of, and actually Dr. Norman lived in Uganda when President Idi Amin was leading the nation. And at the same time, there was also another president, you might know him, in Tanzania, who was doing miracles, was doing great things. So in Uganda, Idi Amin was messing up the country. And in Tanzania, Mwalimu Julius was doing great things. And I kind of think that for a person to reach to that level of leadership, there is a lot that, I mean, there is gifting, the side of gifting and talents must have been, you know, worked on for somebody to reach that kind of. So many times we think of leadership and we think of, you know, gifts of public speaking, gifts of bringing order, gifts, talent. But earlier when Dr. Norman was talking, he mentioned about biblical leadership, which I think, in my opinion, it brings in the ethical side. And sometimes the ethical side is what you learn at the feet, as Pastor Robert was talking about. But it's also about how you observe other people do it. How you, he mentioned about mentorship. So this round of question, I want to focus on mentorship and leadership. And maybe if we would start with, let's start with Dr. Norman, since he's the one that mentioned about mentorship. What do you think is the relationship between mentorship and leadership? And why is mentorship, if you think so, why would mentorship be important in leadership?
Well, I see Jesus Christ as the best example. Jesus called them that they may be with him, and they prayed with him, and they began to see him, and they said, what can I do? Teach us how to pray. So we see Jesus Christ drawing all these disciples towards him, not just to see him, but also to learn from him. So I see a leader does not go far from the people that they lead. There's that kind of attraction, relational. And that relational comes to a stage of impartation. I believe mentorship is not just to come and see, but also it's impartation. So a leader who does not impart his life, his life, give out his time, I think there's a problem. We don't lead through distance. I believe Jesus Christ was close to people. But how about today? Today, leaders lead from, let's say, pulpits. They don't come closer to the people. They don't listen. So I see it as one of the powerful, as Pastor Robert yesterday was telling us about the young pastor, the current pastor who is pastoring a church. And he was telling us, I think he will tell us more in practical, where this was still a young man, but now he leads. He couldn't, that young person during that time, I believe Pastor Robert was seeing beyond, far from what he was saying in this young man. So he had to discern, put his time, his energy into his life, impartation. I think every leader must see beyond what we see today in the people they lead, because you envision for tomorrow. So that gap must be bridged. And that's the point that African leaders, or I speak on the area of Christian leadership, we have failed that. We don't think about succession. We don't talk about mentorship, because you say, well, if I mentor this person, if I train, then they will succeed. You don't see what? The benefits of imparting your life into somebody that he can be better, greater than you, but we are so moved by jealousy and all that. So it's something that is important in the Christian today.
Pastor Eddie, all leaders that end up leading people, on the gift side, on the talent side, they are talented, they are gifted. Hitler was one of the greatest speakers. He would speak like with passion for the few videos that I saw. But the ethical side was very much lacking. That he destroyed Europe, he destroyed the entire world. The examples I was giving about one leader in Tanzania and another leader in Uganda at the same time, because our viewers may be able to relate, I think the difference wasn't in terms of the gifting and the talent. I think the difference was in terms of ethical understanding, or the moral side of things. So I want to ask this. What does the Bible have to offer? Because earlier, Dr. Norman mentioned biblical leadership. there are so many models of leadership. But what does the Bible offer that is different from the rest of other models? Why would I have probably studied leadership at school in different other kinds of models and still want to come and learn about biblical leadership?
If it's successful in the secular world, it probably, maybe I should say emphatically, it will have biblical foundation. There are businesses and business people who aren't necessarily Christian, and they're certainly not promoting Christianity, but their businesses are hugely successful, but it's because they're following principles from this book. They may not know it, but if there's plenty of principles in here, and if we operate by those ethically, then we will do well. I think the guy that's double blessed is the man who walks in the ways of the godly and not in the counsel of the ungodly, but he stands strong and firm on the principles of God's word. You can't lose that way. If one chases 1,000 to flight, why in the world would we not want to have 2 of us who chase 10,000 to flight? If in fact our goal is to lead multitudes of people into the kingdom of God, if I could win 1,000, but Pastor Robert and I can win 10,000, why wouldn't I team up with him if our passion is to establish the kingdom and build the kingdom of God and establish people's names, residency in heaven when they die? So I believe that we can, 2's better than 1. They have a reward for their labor. You have to have a husband and a wife before you have offspring. It's all a process of multiplication. But when you plug it into the principles of Scripture and layer your life upon that, then you're going to find success.
Wow.
That's promised.
Yeah, our viewers of different stratas, earlier we were talking about how far the program goes to. So this is, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, if I still recall, this TV was the second to the government or the National Broadcasting Agency. I mean, in terms of the reach in the entire population. And I'm assuming that there are lots of people watching us today, some who are hearing these things of leadership for the first time, some who do not even know Christ, some who have known Christ and have started to pursue their leadership potential, to work on their leadership potential, and who have probably heard about mentorship, the need for mentorship and all that. And they might be asking themselves, how do I prepare myself better as a mentee? What do I look for in a mentor? And maybe if I may ask, if you would share with us a few things about mentorship. And maybe let me put it this way. I'm sure at your age, 49 years in marriage, you must have mentored your sons or the other young people in your church. And being a pastor, you have worked with other pastors who were learning from you and all this. If you were the one to look for a mentee, what would you look for in a mentee that would make you feel like I am going to now invest some time into this person to reach their God-given talents? Because I'm assuming that, you must be guarding your time very carefully and wouldn't just, have anybody. So if someone was preparing themselves, having heard about mentorship and trying to make sure that I am ready to be mentored, what should I work on? So the 2 questions in one. One, what do you look for in a mentee? But also, if I am working on myself, what do I work on?
Great question. First of all, I believe you should be looking for somebody who listens. If they're doing all the talking, then they're not ready to learn, because you can't learn and listen talk at the same time. So someone who will listen, and then someone who will do. If you say, I want you to go read these 3 books, and we're going to get back together. If they didn't read the 3 books, then they're not obedient. They don't deserve your time. And that's not being arrogant. That's just, there's somebody else. On the other point, I really believe that the relationship of a mentor and a protege, or a mentoree, as you say, should be an organic relationship drafted by God. There's young men in my world in life that I pour into, and it's been that God has just brought us together. I'm not sure that we can just go picking out of the crowd who we want to be a protege. I believe it should be a God-ordained relationship God sent Moses' brother Aaron. That had a relational, and of course Aaron became the high priest, and then his two sons were serving in the priesthood as well. And so I believe when it comes to looking for people you can pour into, that it's an Elijah passing his mantle on Elisha, walking by and seeing what he will do. And when he burned the plow and pursued him, then he knew he had somebody he could pour into with trust. So again, I believe that it's God ordained, should be organic, it should be natural, and God has somebody for everybody, but not everybody is in my world. Quick analogy, Jesus had the multitude that he ministered to. He had the 70 that he sent out. He had the 12. And then he had 3 out of those 12 that were close to him. But out of those 3, there was John the Beloved. He was the one. So I illustrate that statement like this. Not everybody in your sphere belongs in the inner circle. So the guys that I'll spend hours with, I don't spend that kind of time with people in the 70 or the multitude. That doesn't discount them. They're very important. For me, they just don't belong here. Not everybody deserves a front row seat of your life. They may belong in Pastor Robert's sphere, or they may belong in someone else's. I'm not saying they shouldn't be somewhere, but in my world, you've got to draw lines, and I don't like the word boundaries, but you do have to draw those lines and say, this is where I know I'm good. My sweet spot is here with these here, and I can manage this and this, but my real effectiveness is right here with these men right here.
Can I say something? Sure. I want to say something very thought-provoking. A mentor has to understand that he's an example to the mentee. You can have your protege, the very one that you're training and raising up, possibly to be a new leader in the ministry. You can talk to him all you want, but you have to know, if you're a mentor, they're watching your everyday life. Mm-hmm. They're watching your attitude, your characteristics. They're watching what you say. And so it's very, very important that as leaders, as mentors, that we live a life of humility. If we're going to train, if we're going to mentor people, we better make sure that we're living in excellence. Yeah. Because they're watching us. They're watching us. Yeah. Yeah. I don't pastor. I go to a church, and my pastor is a young man that we raised in the church since he was 4 years old. And he is my pastor now. And we love him to death. Great, great guy. But he's always referring back to me and things I've done years ago. And he'll say, I watched Pastor Wells do this, and the way he did it. And so we have to understand, we're a walking book. Yeah. And our mentee is going to read us. So if you're a pastor out there, if you're a leader with some mentees, I want to encourage you, walk a little plainer, because they're watching us. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Amen.
We're coming to the end of our conversation, and this is going to be the final question. It's not going to be about leadership. It's just out of my personal curiosity, and also about our community as Rwandans in particular. And I will be asking 2 questions that will go to all of you. One is, at your age, from what I gather, Norman might be the youngest, and he's already 60. For someone of my age who just gave them their lives to Christ, who was given their lives to Christ a few years ago, because I'm not that old to say that it's a long time ago, it's just a few years ago. And you're challenged when you see people of your age still serving, still traveling. Pastor Robert was saying that even when I'm 100, I will still be, I will still be serving. And one of the questions that linger in our minds is, will I be able to do that? That's if you want to do it anyway. But what makes somebody at that age, instead of retiring and, you know, take care of grandchildren and great-grandchildren, still want to go and serve people that they don't even know in all these other places? I was asking the same questions behind the camera, but today he will be answering it publicly. At his age, you know, maybe somebody would be, you know, thinking of retirement and how am I going to do this and play some games and all kinds of things. I'm not saying that playing games is a problem, but one question that I'm trying to get from all that is, what keeps you do this? The last question will be, there's an ongoing crisis in Rwanda with families. All institutions are, you know, waking up to this fact, but it's already been going the wrong direction for the past 7 years, because the numbers grew from less than 3,000 divorces in 2017 to over 19,000. Now remember, our community is a very small community. We are only 14 plus million population. That tells you we are about probably like 5,000 household, 5 million household. And these families, these divorces that went from 3,000 to 19,000 was something that we had never heard of. You can imagine, like previous years, 2017 and below, it's just somewhere below 3,000. Now from 2018, 19,000, 2025, I think we're already in 23,000, something like that. And and people have been doing all kinds of research, and they kind of come back to this one thing that is tied to what you were saying about mentorship. People are saying this is because the young men leading families today grew up without someone to look to and to teach them how this is done. So we've had more than 1 million people die in the 1994 genocide against Tutsi. That tells you close to probably 2 million or plus, you know, were tried by the courts and were put in prison. And some died because 1990 to 1994, there's an ongoing war. A lot of people die in wars. So literally by the time that Dr. Norman comes to Rwanda in 1994 and 1995, and during all this period of time, the young people that grew up and now getting married didn't have someone to look to teach them how to be a man and all that. So there is that crisis of men that is leading to high crisis of families and lots of divorces. And by the way, those who divorce are the only ones that have gone to the courts of the law, and it is written that they are divorced, but many others are struggling and all that. So one was about how do you keep going at your age? What pushes you to continue to serve? Two, what would you say to men and to families? Of course, divorce comes with so many things. But when you talked about your families and how long you've been married, I know about Norman, he didn't mention it, but at least our viewers, most of them know. I was like, I will not end this conversation before I ask you if you had to tell someone like me who's about to get married, or somebody who's been married, you know, 3, 4, 5 years, what would be your word of encouragement? What would you tell them? Yeah, just something from your heart. It doesn't have to be in a certain direction. Thank you.
Well, this year I'll be 80 years old, and traveling to different countries is not easy. It's not easy on your body, very expensive. When we get home, I think it's one of the planes. We'll be sitting on the plane for 16 hours and 10 minutes, just one of the planes. And it takes a toll on your body. Airplane seats are so small and you're all cramped up, and really takes a good toll on your body. But I'm going to do it next year, and I'm going to do it the year after that. I've always asked the Lord, this is my prayer, let me do what I'm doing till at least I'm 90 years old. And the reason for that is called passion.
Yeah.
You have a passion. When my phone rings and somebody invites me to an overseas trip, I just get so excited because I have it's tough, it's hard on us physically. It'll take him and I 3 or 4 good days to acclimate to our time zone, and it's not easy. But we want to do it again.
Yeah.
He goes overseas next month. I'll go in a couple of months, and I have 4 more trips to go this year, and we do it, and we keep on doing it. We can retire. We can say, you know, we've had enough. I'm old enough. I've paid my fees. I've done enough. I could say that. But I would be one miserable individual. And so the reason I keep on going is because of passion. My 60 years of marriage, I had no role model like you were talking about. My father was not a role model. I had to learn it the hard way. My 3rd year of marriage was very bad. We were talking about calling it quits. And I realized if I wanted a successful marriage, I'm the one that had to work on it. We always blame the spouse, the other spouse. We blame the jobs. We blame this, and we blame everything for not having a great marriage. When we need to look in the mirror, we need to blame ourselves. And say, hey, you know, if you want this to work, you better change. You cannot change your spouse.
Right.
The more you try to change your spouse, the worse your marriage is going to be.
Yeah.
You cannot change your spouse. And so that 3rd year of my marriage, I started reading marriage books on marriage. That has helped me more than anything. And then every opportunity I had, I would go to a marriage seminar somewhere, and then I'd start studying up on marriage. And we've just 60 years, we're still in love. Still in love.
Yes.
Sorry to get 2 books you would recommend me, so that the next time when you come, I'll tell you that I've finished about marriage.
Good.
Do you have 2 books that you would recommend me?
Yes, I'll think of some books.
Okay, thank you so very much. Yes, Doctor.
I know our time is short, so let me encapsulate. When I ask the questions, who are you and why are you here? Who we are first of all, we're priests unto God. According to the Scripture, we're priests unto God. The priest represented the people to God. As a parent, and I know we're talking about the next generation, but as a parent, the parent must represent their children to God. The priest offered sacrifices for the people in the Old Testament. Similarly, we must represent them. Lord, I bring my sons to you, Matt and Micah, and every day I call my grandbabies' names, my sons and their wives' names, my wife. I call their names every day. I am like a priest. I present them to God. The second thing we've got to be is like prophets, which represent God to the people. In that way, we are teaching them the Word. We're modeling what God has taught us, the principles that we know to live by. We are being prophetic. We're like not telling people their future, but representing God to our families, our proteges. It goes both ways. So I think we got to start over, but I think the key, and we chatted about this earlier, I really believe the key is we got to have God's help on this. We can talk about this and do all we can do, but if we don't have divine intervention and some type of an Acts 2:4 experience, we don't have an outpouring of the Spirit of God on this planet, it's going to be uglier and uglier. So we're crying out for a 3rd great awakening, I am, believing God to plaster the globe with His presence, as Habakkuk says, to cover the earth with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. And then to your point about why do we still do what we do, I think of the Scripture, where Jesus looked at his disciples and said, are you going to leave me too? Remember, a bunch of them left. Are you going to leave me too? And they said, Lord, where will we go? My answer to you is, I have no other desire to do anything. There's no plan B. This is what I do. This is I love this. Not only do I get excited about the opportunity, in fact, I adjusted next month's schedule because I was already committed. And I adjusted it so I could be here with him. I'm delighted. I'm honored he would ask me. It's truly an honor. But I believe that we have to find our place, fill our place, and let God just lead us in the process of whenever it's time to wrap it up. He knows how to help us gather it, like he did David. He pulled his knees up under him, fulfilled his purposes on earth, was gathered to his fathers. So I just want to be there doing whatever he calls me to do till it's over. I've got incredible relationships around the world. That's why you go. You got people you love. Just like Brother Robert, he's found a favor here. And when we go places, we always fall in love with people. God's people. It's our family. So.
Wow, thank you so very much.
Thank you, Vita. I think mine is 3. I think what keeps us and keeps me is exactly what Pastor Ed said. Who are you? Do you know who you are and why you are there? So that, and I think that was my motivation, even writing the book or staying the course. So many questions were saying, Norman, for these years, what keeps going? That's it. Because when you discover who you are, your identity in Christ, what God has called you to do and become to God's people, that keeps you on the course. And about the families, I think Pastor Robert says it well.
You actually wrote your love story in the book.
Yeah, the love story. We did not grow up, I had no model of a father. But when I was praying during that time before I met my wife, I said, God, I want to be the best husband. I know not my strength, but I want to be a good father. And I think, as Pastor Ed was saying, you can never do it by yourself. During our time, we didn't have all these books which you have today on marriage. We just struggle and navigate all your life. But when you pray for the right spouse, God gives you the right one. And I thank God for my wife. She's patient, still patient with me. And I never change. Pastor Robert says, you don't try to change her, neither will change you, but you see them as God's gift. To the children, I think a father needs to, as I like the area of priesthood, every day I mention my children in prayer. So that one is also, I've seen it, God working through them. So I encourage everyone, as priests in the house, you don't change your children, it's God who changes them. Just become a model, listen to them. And mind, the last one is in the teen, grace. There's a moment when they begin to challenge you, see them as children, but still, God gives you the grace to keep on going. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you so much, all of you. It's been a joy for me and an honor. I wish we had more time because I could ask about leadership, I could ask about ministry, I could ask about family. Those 3 I'm very passionate about. I love to learn so much about the 3. So it's been a joy for me to have fathers in the house, men of God, servants of God, all these things that I want to be. I want to be a great father, I want to be a great husband, a great man. I also want to serve God with everything I've got. I would have loved that we continue. But let me thank you so much for this 1 hour that you have given to us and for sharing all the insights you've shared. I wish I was able to attend the trainings in this coming week,
yes.
But I'll be able to watch them on YouTube after they have been recorded because I'm going to upload them. Yeah. So it'll be a joy again to learn more about what you've been talking about. So to our viewers, this is Staying the Course. It's a conversation that is brought forth by Christ for the Nations Ministries. And it's a conversation that is aired on this TV every Sunday, 3:30 to 4:30. And it's also on the YouTube channel of this organization. The YouTube channel is called CNM-STAYING the Course. Staying the Course is the name of the book. that has been written by Dr. Norman Paul Desire. It's a book about living out your calling, discovering your calling and living it out. It also talks about history of Rwanda from his perspective, and you would enjoy it. I am saying that because I've read the book and I've enjoyed it. You can find it on all the bookshops in Kigali, but also you can buy it online on vitalreadings.com, which is the publishing house that released the book. And we're going to be having some conversations about the book in the future. If you read the book and you feel like you want to ask some questions, we'll be hosting the author sometime in the future, and we'll be asking some of the questions that we have gathered from all of you. So I want to thank you so very much, and I want to wish you a good evening and a great week ahead. God bless you.